Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert. It's an award-winning daily series from 8:30 in the morning till 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments and live feed. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. During this live session, we'll be running a poll, so please do engage with it and we'll reveal the result at the end. I wanted to come on to this show and talk to a little about my experience and talk to people about mental health and leadership in business. But my name's Ryan Armitage and my company is Tezlom. We're a healthcare recruitment agency. We supply temporary staffing into healthcare services all across the UK, and we franchise a business model. It's been open since 2008 and my mother started it and I joined the business in 2012. We franchise a business model, which means that people can buy the business brand and we train them up and give them support throughout the length of the franchise agreement. But the main bit of this talk was about leadership and mental health, and what happened with my story is 2 years ago, prior to this, I'd say 3 years ago, I was a different person. I never really looked at this deeply. I was always open to conversations around people, how people struggle and stuff, but I took a more deeper impact when my brother committed suicide. My brother was 30 years old and a leader in this business with me. To give you an idea of the size of the business, it's 16 people at head office and a number of franchises throughout the neck. It's quite established business. My brother got an addiction to cocaine, series of mental health challenges, and he actually committed suicide, and it's probably the wrong phrase committed suicide, but he took his own life. And unfortunately I found him as well. So it changed everything for me. I looked at my own self and then also my business and how we treat people and how we go about doing it. So learning to deal with grief as a family, that's challenging within itself. My father also got cancer in this time, and he's now got Parkinson's dementia. So there's been a lot of life changes. So I wanted to talk to you about how I dealt with that as a business owner with the teams that I had to carry on lead. And I think leading by example, by looking after my own mental health, making sure that I do regular exercise, I do lots of different holistic things like I introduce breath work into my life and yoga, different regular exercise, eating healthy. I've got a different relationship with alcohol. There's lots of different things that I did within myself and practiced and reached out to and got counsellors and spoke to groups and became part of different organisations to help myself. So then understanding that in my business I could support the team and anyone around it, whoever joined it. So it sounds like sometimes people think that might be with a really small business, and I can cast my mind to when we still started, we couldn't afford a yoga instructor to come into the work, and we couldn't afford to have motivational speakers to come in or pay for gym memberships or all the nice things that we do for our team now. But you can put toolboxes together. But the main thing I want to talk about business owners is you can do mental health first aid England training course. It's an amazing course. Doesn't cost a lot of money. It's about £300. You should definitely look at it. And what it'll do is give you some of the tools to support yourself and your team. If anything, they come across with any challenges with mental health, there's lots of different dynamics to it. It'll give you some of the tools and resources to actually deal with that. That's one of the first things to do. But I would also say to you is lead by example. So be visual about the things that you say you're going to do and practice, and show the team that you do these things. So that can, like I say, regular exercise, looking after yourself, and then so that then you don't project on your team and you can deal with any challenges yourself, and you don't put that all over your team and the people around you. In my business, we have what's called an open door policy, and that doesn't mean we're not busy, because people can't just we walk in, but we might have to say, look, we're a bit busy, can't deal with this right now. But putting pockets of time aside for your team. And some people might really disagree with me when I say this, but your personal mental health doesn't have to stop at the door of the office. You can't. People say that saying where, oh, you know, don't bring your personal life into work. It's absolutely impossible not to bring your personal life in work. what I'm saying to you is, be as a leader in a business, be open to conversation, support your team, point them in the right direction by having this toolbox of people around you, and create relationships with different types of organisations, and have different people in your life that you can point in the right direction because you've done it yourself. So then if someone's having a really bad time, someone's getting divorced, someone's mum's an alcoholic, all sorts of things happen, you can help that team member, give that pocket of time, they can still work, they can get through their day or their week or their month, and you've pointed them in the right direction, supported them the best you can. But I'm not saying turn into a mental health supporter, mental health expert yourself, because you've got to still run a business, but what you can do is point them in the right directions. That's some of the things that I've done in my business. And what I want to talk about is, with the leadership part, is if things go challengingly wrong, take ownership of that and look at the way you run the business, and make sure that you reflect on yourself before you go to your team. It's quite difficult around the mental health side of things, but it's always good to make sure you reflect on yourself before you go back through your team members and blaming everyone around you. These are some of the things I've took on when we with our business. It's been some tough decisions. You've got to be conscious about how they affect your team as well. In business, you do have to, make these decisions. But what I'm saying to you is be careful about, how that affects your team. It's always a challenge, that part of it, but be selfless about this and show some empathy towards your team when you're going through this, because people don't like change. It can be quite challenging for them. They get settled in the job, they get good at it, they take ownership of it, and you're trying to do these changes within your business. Have these open discussions and all that. That's one of the things I think. And I can move on to questions. I've had a few come in. I'll just have a little look through them now. Owen on Twitter, what are the key differences between operating a business and a franchise? Well, there is no difference for me. It's just opening a business, and the franchise is you just have to, you're buying something that's a proven business model, so that you can follow their guidelines on it. Where you have your own business, you haven't got that guidance, and you're just going on your own, which is equally just as good as a franchise. But with a franchise, you do have guidelines to follow, you have got ways to do it, but it might get into business quicker, if that makes sense. Jody on Facebook Messenger, the side effects of lockdowns and the pandemic is that many people are dealing with mental health issues. Some of my staff are anxious to return to the office. How can you support employees while encouraging them? So I went through this when we went into lockdown. The whole of my team went working at home. I couldn't physically cope at home, and I carried on working in the office. Within about 3 days, I had about 4 of my team members say exactly the same thing, and we invited them back into the office. And they decided to work from the office because of their mental health. I think for the ones that are anxious about coming back in the office, we did some ones where they came back in 1 day a week or half a day and just reintroduced them slowly. That really worked for some of our team. Say, for instance, if they were doing Monday to Friday, they did just do Tuesday, Wednesday, or they came in Monday, came in Friday. And over time, they came back in. But the whole team's back in now. And to be honest with you, all of them really wanted to be in the office, as far as I'm aware. We have a quite nice working environment, the best it can be. So that's one of them. Area on Instagram, a lot of older generations typically find to talk about mental health or emotion issues. What can you help to break the stigma and make it easier for them? I think that is a good question. I recently took someone on who we ended up having quite a deep chat about his history, and I won't go into the details of it, but he went through some pretty traumatic stuff. I think the word mental health is sometimes difficult for people to get around, because they sort of don't understand that, oh, this bloody mental health stuff. I think it's just a history they've been through, talk about what they've gone through, how did they cope with that. You don't necessarily have to use the word mental health. People are trying to use the word mind health now instead of mental health. But yeah, I think the older generation, I think it's just talking through those differences. But the thing is, in the last, since late 90s, the internet's just taken over, and there's so much more access to stuff. It's good that it's there, but that older generation didn't have that, so they had different ways of coping. Johnny on Facebook Messenger, sharing, thanks for sharing your story about your brother talking like things in support, but I'm curious how he found a way to speak about it, being comfortable while being appropriate professional settings. It's that is a difficult question as well. I just share it. I don't change the way I talk. I don't be different in any settings really. I just talk about exactly how it was. Raising awareness about my brother suicide is so important to me, because every time I do something or talk about it, someone reaches out to me and I point them in the right direction. I've supported quite a few people through different dynamics and different challenges. I'm not someone who can professionally do that myself, but what I have done is I've got a network of people around me that I can point people in the right direction. But yeah, the thing that I went through with my brother, I could quite happy to talk to anyone about, and people who have been through it themselves, they want to talk about it because it helps you feel better yourself. What does a mental health first aider do, and what sort of training should employers provide for them? So a mental health first aider is basically a course by Mental Health First Aid England. It's a fantastic online course. I did it, and it's basically not giving you, it doesn't turn you into a counsellor, but what it does is how to react to stuff when someone tells you something. So it's basically, if someone has an eating disorder or something like that, it's not like, oh, I'll help you fix your eating disorder. It's, okay, tell me a bit about it, how you deal with that. It gives you the right words and the way to go about doing them, and then move on to pass them on to the right, put in the right direction. Let's try and get so many questions here. Emily on Facebook, most people are comfortable taking sick days of physical illness, even more coronavirus. I think extra precaution. But when it comes to mental health, people are less likely to actually request days for mental health should organise and communicate with employees. So the mental health days is if your employers are open, and this is what I'm saying to you about being a leader in a business. If you're a leader in a business, then, and you're talking about your mental health and the strategies you put in place, if someone has bad mental health, it won't be a case of, oh, I'm ringing up today, I've got bad mental health, I'll come in. They'll already be on a journey. You'll know they're going to be having some time off. You'll already have had this conversation. These things will have already been slightly open to it. So then that's what I'm saying to you about being open to it. You'll be able to talk to them for it. You'll know it's coming. You might have already suggested, have a bit of time off, work half day, don't worry about coming in today, work from home. Them sort of conversations have already happened. So Brian on Twitter. And as an employer, how should you manage employees who are perhaps unsupportive or cynical about mental health issues? So that is, again, I guess, Brian, is basically being open to them conversations. I think this all stems back to being a leader in a business, isn't it? Is if you're got employees who are cynical about it, it's just having them open discussions, wigwam conversations where everyone's in the room and talk about it. And perhaps if you've got the money, bring people in. I know some great services, one called Wise Up, on, if you follow them, WHYS, UP, Wise Up, they'll come in and talk to you. It doesn't cost a lot of money. And what it does, it opens them conversations. We've had them come in, and some of our team have come out with some stuff we never knew about, and it really opened it up. And what it does is it gets people talking. That's what I think is what it needs with that bit. Matt on Facebook Messenger, hey Ryan, I think it's incredibly open about your personal experiences. How led to it as a leader? Have you figured out what to share and when to share it? How is it appropriate? I always worry about sharing. So yes, the thing is, right, with sharing my story is I do it when I feel the time is right, because if someone's under crisis or in trauma themselves, me sharing my story with them won't make them feel any better. Even though I automatically, emotionally want to go, oh my God, I know how you feel because I went through this, that doesn't support them with their time. I just use the tools that I've gained and the emotional intelligence I've got to support them through their time, and then maybe I'll talk about it another time. And like situations like this where I get to tell my story that helps people think about theirs, and people reach out to me and I'll support them and point them in the right direction. But it's not what I want to do a career. It's not something that I'm going to lead to in the future. Tezlom has always been my business, and I just want to be able to support people the best I can, because I wish I'd had it and I had to reach out and found it. Facebook, what's the best piece of advice you give anyone looking to start their own business? Don't do it. No, I'm joking. To start your own business, remember it's going to take a lot. Forget about your watch, throw that in the bin, calendar, throw that away. You can't spend any money. You've got to have complete focus. You've got to let it take over your life. And that's what I would do in the start of a business. That's why I always say to franchisees, you just got to buckle down and get it going, because that's the quickest part of it. Is the most important part of it, is to get trading. So yeah, that's what I would say to that. And on Instagram, if you notice the culture in your workplace which could be detrimental and exclusive of mental health issues, how would you go about raising the manager so much? If you notice a culture in our workplace that could be detrimental or exclusionary to those in mental health issues, how could you go about raising with the manager or senior leadership team? I would just go and talk to them about it. How do you raise something like that with them? The best thing is always talking. How you go about doing it obviously is a different thing. Maybe put it into words at first, or just walk in and talk to people. I think that is the communication is always key in these situations. You could even do a bit of research yourself if you felt like, look at mental health training providers and maybe reach out to them, and then go to your managers, your senior leadership with that information. So at least you've then seen a problem, come up with a solution. Might be an idea of doing it. I'd have to get a bit more involved to understand it, but that's what I would do. Mike on Facebook mentioned Tezlom operate a healthcare recruitment space. During this time, a lot of Australian sector, more generally the health sector, high rates of employment. How do you feel about the sector doing now? How is supporting health and mental health? So there has been a lot of strain on the sector, and it has been a very tough time. And we try and support our business agency workers the best we can. The sector is busy now, and I feel like a lot of people are coping better and things are going. There's a lot of challenges around people not wanting the vaccination and feeling they have to. It's only just come out that, so I don't really know much more. I don't want to comment much more about that, but yeah, that seems to be a bit of a challenge now. But we supported the agency workers the best we can verbally and had conversations with them, put them in the right place, make sure they didn't go back to places they didn't want to go to, support them the best we could. Demi on Instagram, building the right team around you is vital in the success of the business. How do you go about hiring the right people, particularly when it came to areas you didn't have first-hand experience in? So the way I do it, Demi, is I have a number of different people who've been in my business a couple of years, and we do a number of different interviews, and they're quite not the word professional, like chats, breaking down them barriers, getting to people to see if they'll fit the culture. Don't always go off their CV. I know it sounds crazy that, but if you feel like someone's got the experience and you have to look at the CV, but don't just go through it. Find out what their type of person they are, see what makes them tick. Why do they want to do? What have they been through? How they're going to fill your culture? Are they the type of people who are going to fit in? Because your team's so important to you. You need to make sure you get the right people in to support you. In the team, you don't want to just bring someone in. Right, okay, they've done that for 25 years. They must be amazing at it. Ask them a few questions about it and bring them on board. They might just tear your team to pieces. What you need to do is think about the culture of your team. Are they going to fit? Can I train them up? Have they got the right skill set to do it? And can I bring them in? I hope that answers your question, Demi. Kyle, did you have a mentor? And if so, what's the most valuable advice? My mentor is my mum. She ran the business, and when I joined in 2012, because my dad got cancer, me and my mum just worked together hand in hand, and my brother until he committed suicide. Keep saying he committed suicide, not supposed to say that. But yeah, that's what happened. So I haven't got any valuable advice. My big advice for me is my ego. Don't let your ego get out there when you're trying to in a business. Just hold it back sometimes, and don't come out with too many opinions about things when you're in your business and talking about. Don't let your ego get in front of you, and remain quiet if you can. Alice on Facebook Messenger, rattle through these questions the best I can. One of the best parts being at home was spending my time with family, really boosting my morale. As we get busy, I don't want to miss out on those moments. What should we do? It's always that problem, isn't it? missing out. I've got two young boys, 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I'm held to pieces. Me and my little boy Jackson, summer holidays are coming to work tomorrow. It's not ideal. I've got franchisees here on the training. I've got two members of the team here. It's that work-life balance in it all the time. You know, I always try and make sure that I do something great at the weekends, in the evenings if I can. But if you're getting too busy and you miss out on them moments, you need to maybe question what you're doing, and if you need to change it, change it. If you don't, sometimes, unfortunately, it's a sacrifice, and I hate that word, but it is that moral dilemma between how much time you spend with your family and how much time you spend at work. There's nothing I can really give you advice on that without spending a bit more time with you. But yeah, that's it. Mandy on Instagram, I noticed on your bio, rebranded your company Tezlom. Was the reason behind this? Why do you achieve what you're hoping? We were called 24/7 Professional Health, and I was always looking at how we looked on social media, and I always wanted to put the brand out there. But when my brother passed away in 2018, we were looking at rebranding the company, and I went to a branding company roughly the same time before Tom passed away, about looking better on social media and getting some training on videos and Instagram and things like that. And I went to a branding company called Tim Marner. If you just type in Tim Marner on Instagram, that's who did our rebranding with us. And the word Tezlom stands for transparency, equality, zealous, loyalty, organic, and motivation in the corporate world. But my brother was called Tom, and my dad's called Les, and that's what Tezlom stands for to me. And that's why I'll never sell it, and I'll continue to grow in it and create the culture that I want in the business. Okay, Claire on Facebook. Having little or no income for ages now, there's an opportunity to get my business cash flow up and fast, but I don't want to overwork myself and the team. How do I balance the business needs opportunities against all our personal and mental health needs? Claire, that is a tough question. I'm going to get my cash flow fast, but I don't want to overwork myself and the team. How do I balance the business needs opportunities? So I would make sure you put some good daily practices in, Claire, for yourself. If you're talking about your team, maybe even put some good daily practices in for them, and make sure that you get time away from the screen. Make sure you try and do some team building activities. They don't have to cost a lot of money. A walk down the street, go to the park, go litter picking, get out the door, and without spending a lot of money. There's so many small activities that don't cost a lot of money. You can get a PT in the office for the day, or a yoga structure in for an hour for 25 quid. You know, there's lots of different dynamic ways of, maybe reach out to me, Claire. We can try and talk about some of the things we've done. But for your own personal mental health, I find daily habits are the key to building a strong mental health, and it doesn't always work, especially in business, because it's very, very stressful. But yeah, that's what I would do is look at your daily habits and your team's daily habits, and again, show them what you do and do it. But there's lots of different things we could do. Maybe ever reach out to me or have a chat about it. Lauren on Instagram. As a leader, I've noticed sometimes I can get a bit defensive when I'm stressed. How can you be more responsive to them times and rather reactive? Again, Lauren, that's basically a learning curve you're going to have to go through. Managing stress is so difficult, and not voicing your opinion on when you're being pushed by someone or you're getting your buttons pushed. I think looking after yourself, again, with good daily habits. I do a lot of self-reflection. So if I've been in a situation, I'll reflect maybe for a couple of hours just on how I went about doing that. Remind myself I'm not going to do that again. It's not easy. It doesn't always go to plan. But self-reflection is a big one, and maybe even write things down. I know it sounds a bit cheesy, that, but if you've been in a scenario, write it down. Maybe it might hit home, and the next time something comes up, you think, actually, I'm not going to do that. A lot of the times when we're going for a big decision, me and Mum will sleep on it. Even though I want to make the decision right there and then, even though I want to react there and then, I'll sleep on it. Even if I think it's a good decision, I'll still sleep on it. It's amazing what a good night's sleep does on a big decision. Elliot on Facebook. My business slowly grew down massively during lockdown. It was disheartening. I feel less passionate about it. How do you find motivation again? There's real opportunities now and again, but my mindset is stopping me from seizing them. How do you get motivation when you haven't got any? I think I'd have to have a chat with Elliot and maybe go through it that way. I'd have to look at everything, and that's a tough one to answer. But I have massive self motivation. I just have it within. It's intrinsically built in me. To motivate yourself, possibly look at your daily habits and how you're treating yourself. Has it become a bit of a bind for your work? Is it something you don't really want to do anymore? And then how can you get it going again, and just little by little take each day as it comes. Don't look at the whole project. Don't look how big it's going to get. Just pinch each day, meet each hour, every 10 minutes, and build from there. I'd have to have a chat with you, mate, about it, but that's how I'd probably go about doing it. Daisy on Twitter, what do you look for in a potential franchisee? For me, for a potential franchisee, they've got to be on my page. I'm not particularly bothered about the background so much. There's some key skills you need to have, like computers. That's one of the main things, because everything's got a CRM system. But yeah, that's probably one of the main things is that. But everything else is just how I feel about that person. When we have a few meetings and have a bit of lunch and get to know them, that's one of the main things. It's just got to be on my page. What's their reasons for going into that? So the next bit is self-care. The poll results are in. We asked you, do you support your team with their mental health? 90% of you said yes, and 10% asked you working on it. That's fantastic. That's amazing news. I love that. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. If you want to get in touch, the best way to contact me is actually on LinkedIn. Just search for Ryan Armitage. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Aaron Patrick, an accountant from QuickBooks Pro Advisor. Tune in to get advice on accounting, latest features and tools that make your quick bookkeeping easier. Reminding me more advice, join the official Institute QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. I've really enjoyed answering your questions this morning. There's a lot of questions there. If anyone didn't get the answer they wanted or want to know more, please just reach out to me. I'm quite happy to have a chat with you. Have a great day.